The plans for Operation Liberation took 2 weeks to finalize. Every detail had to be perfect. There would be no second chance. The Coalition High Command was initially skeptical about the mission. "It's too risky," High Admiral Zen had argued. "We cannot afford to lose the Defiance." "If we succeed, you won't need the Defiance anymore," Tae Jin had replied. "The war will be over." In the end, they agreed. The Coalition provided everything the humans requested: star charts, intelligence reports, and a special chemical agent, developed by their scientists. "This will neutralize the biological control agent in the Dravari atmosphere," Sun Young explained during the final briefing. "Once we upload it to their atmospheric processors, it should take effect within hours." The ground team was selected. Ji-woo would lead, with Sung-ho providing tactical support and Sun Young handling the medical and scientific aspects. They trained relentlessly in the Defiance's simulation room, preparing for every possible scenario. Meanwhile, Junho made modifications to the ship's stealth systems. "I've added a phase shift component," he told Tae-jin. "It will make us even harder to detect, but it puts a lot of strain on the power systems. We'll only have 6 hours before we need to shut it down." The night before they departed for Vaskar, Tae-jin walked through the quiet corridors of his ship. The crew was resting, gathering strength for the challenging mission ahead. He found Jin-ae in the communication center, still working. "You should get some sleep," he said. She looked up, tired but determined. "Just making sure our encrypted channel to the Swift Wind is perfect. Commander Do-hyun needs to know immediately, if things go wrong." Tae-jin nodded. The Swift Wind would wait at the rendezvous point, ready to alert the Coalition fleet if the Defiance didn't return. "Do you think this will work?" Jin-ae asked quietly. "It has to," Tae-jin replied. "For all our sakes." The journey to Vaskar took 3 days, following a complex path to avoid Dravari patrols. As they approached the system, Tae-jin called the crew to battle stations. "Activate phase shift stealth," he ordered. "Minimal power to non-essential systems." The lights dimmed as the ship redirected energy to the stealth technology. On the view screen, the Dravari homeworld came into view, a beautiful blue-green planet surrounded by defense platforms and warships. "Scan complete," Minji reported from her station. "I'm detecting over 50 warships in orbit, plus automated defense systems. The atmospheric processors are located in 6 key cities. Control center is in the underground bunker as expected." "Can we get a shuttle through their defenses?" Tae-jin asked. Minji studied her readings. "There's a gap in their sensor coverage, over the northern polar region. If we time it right, the ground team might make it through." Tae-jin turned to Ji-woo. "You and your team prepare for deployment. You'll have a 6-hour window while our stealth systems hold." Ji-woo nodded and left the bridge with Sung-ho and Sun Young. They suited up in the shuttle bay, checking their equipment one last time. Each carried a pulse weapon, a stealth suit, and specialized gear for their role. Sun Young had the most important item, a data crystal containing the neutralizing agent. "Approaching optimal insertion point," Junho's voice announced over the comm system. "Ground team to shuttle in 2 minutes." Ji-woo looked at her teammates. "Ready?" They nodded, faces serious but determined. "Let's end this war," Sung-ho said. The shuttle launched silently from the Defiance, its own stealth systems activated. Ji-woo piloted it carefully through the gap in the Dravari sensor net, descending toward the planet's surface. Through the viewport, they could see vast cities stretching across the landscape. "The bunker is located beneath the capital city," Ji-woo said, checking the navigation system. "I'll put us down 5 kilometers away, in these mountains." The landing was smooth. As the shuttle touched down in a small clearing, Ji-woo activated the camouflage system, making it blend with the surrounding rocks and trees. "Move out," she ordered. "Stay in stealth mode." The 3 humans made their way toward the city, their suits adapting to the environment around them, making them nearly invisible. They encountered few Dravari in the wilderness, and those they did see were easily avoided. The city itself was more challenging. Dravari moved through the streets in organized patterns. Guards stood at key intersections. But the human team had studied their routines, and knew where the gaps would be. The bunker entrance should be in that building, Sung-ho whispered, pointing to a massive structure at the city center. Heavy security. Ji-woo studied the guards. We need a distraction. Sung-ho pulled a small device from his pack. I brought something for that. He set the timer and placed it on a nearby vehicle. 2 minutes later, it emitted a powerful electromagnetic pulse. Lights flickered across the area. Dravari security forces rushed toward the disturbance. Now, Ji-woo said. They slipped past the remaining guards and into the building. Inside, they found a lift system that descended deep underground. Sun Young hacked into the control panel, bypassing the security. We're in, she said, as the doors closed around them. The lift dropped rapidly. When it stopped, they stepped out, into a long corridor lined with doors. At the end was a massive chamber, the heart of the Dravari Empire. Life signs ahead, Sung-ho reported, checking his scanner. A lot of them. Ji-woo checked the time. We have 3 hours left before the Defiance needs to leave orbit. Let's move. They made their way carefully down the corridor, avoiding patrols. Finally, they reached a door marked with symbols that matched their intelligence reports. The atmospheric control room. 4 Dravari technicians worked inside. Before they could react, Sung-ho fired his pulse weapon, set to stun. The aliens collapsed without a sound. Watch the door, Ji-woo told him. Sun Young, do your thing. The medical officer hurried to the main console. She connected the data crystal and began the upload process. This will take a few minutes, she said. The system is checking the chemical composition. Ji-woo kept her weapon ready. Hurry. On the Defiance, Tae-jin watched the mission timer with growing concern. Any word from the ground team? Janae shook her head. Nothing yet. The bunker might be blocking communications. A Dravari patrol ship is changing course, Min-ji warned. They might have detected something. Tae-jin made a quick decision. Adjust position. Keep our profile minimal. The Defiance moved slowly, staying in the planet's shadow. The patrol ship passed by without alarm. Stealth systems at 30% remaining power, Junho reported from engineering. We need to start preparations for extraction soon. Tae-jin nodded grimly. Give them more time. In the bunker, Sun Young watched the upload progress reach 100%. It's done. The neutralizing agent is entering the atmospheric system. Will it work? Ji-woo asked. It should start breaking down the control agent immediately. Within hours, every Dravari on the planet will be free of its influence. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. A voice spoke in the Dravari, language urgent and angry. They've detected the change in the atmospheric composition, Sung-ho translated. Security teams are being mobilized. Time to go, Ji-woo decided. They hurried back the way they had come, but at an intersection they found their path blocked by armed Dravari guards. Sung-ho fired, creating an opening, but more guards appeared behind them. This way. Sun Young called, pointing to a different corridor. They ran, pursued by shouting guards. The new path led them not to the lift they had used, but to a large chamber filled with Dravari in elaborate clothing, the Eternal Guardians themselves. The room fell, silent as the 3 humans burst in, weapons raised. One Dravari, older than the others, stepped forward. Humans, he said, his translator making the words sound like a curse. You have no idea what you've done. We've freed your people, Ji-woo replied. Your control over them is ending. The Dravari leader's face showed rage. You've doomed them. The control agent doesn't just make them aggressive, it unites them. Without it, they will turn on each other, on us. Better to live free, even with challenges, than to be slaves to your war, Sun Young said. Guards flooded into the room, surrounding the humans. But before they could fire, something strange happened. The guards seemed to hesitate, looking confused. Some lowered their weapons. It's working, Sun Young whispered. The neutralizing agent is taking effect. The Eternal Guardian screamed orders. But fewer guards were listening. Some were backing away, looking at their weapons as if seeing them for the first time. Ji-woo took the opportunity. Everyone listen. The Eternal Guardians have been controlling your minds, making you fight their war. You don't have to obey them anymore. The confused Dravari looked at each other, then at their leaders. Centuries of conditioning was failing, before their eyes. We need to reach the surface, Sung Ho said urgently. Contact the Defiance. Taking advantage of the confusion, the three humans pushed past the disorganized guards and found another lift. As they ascended to the surface, they felt the station shaking. Revolution had begun. On the Defiance, Jin-A's console lit up. Captain, I'm receiving a signal from the ground team. Tae-Jin leaned forward. Put it through. Ji-Woo's voice came through, broken by static. Mission successful. Requesting extraction, city in chaos. Lock onto their signal, Tae-Jin ordered. Prepare for emergency extraction. The Defiance moved out of hiding, diving toward the coordinates. As they approached the city, they could see what Ji-Woo me. Over the next 3 months, the Defiance became a legend in both Coalition and Dravari space. The Earthship appeared where it was least expected, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Tae-Jin and his crew raided Dravari supply depots, destroyed shipyards, and disrupted communication networks across multiple systems. Each mission was carefully planned based on intelligence from Coalition sources and the ship's own data gathering. Commander Do-hyun's vessel, the Swift Wind, often accompanied them, providing additional firepower and local knowledge. The alien commander had become a trusted ally and friend to Tae-Jin. After their 12th successful mission, the destruction of a major Dravari fuel processing station, the two captains met on the Defiance to plan their next move. The Dravari are changing their tactics, Do-hyun said, looking at the tactical display in the ship's war room. They're spreading their resources more widely, making it harder to hit critical targets. Tae-Jin nodded. They're adapting. It was bound to happen. They've also placed a bounty on the Defiance, Jin-A added, reading from her datapad. The reward for destroying this ship would make someone the richest being in the galaxy. Ji-Woo smiled grimly. Good luck collecting on that. Sung Ho brought up new intelligence reports. The Dravari have pulled back from 3 Coalition systems in the past week. They're consolidating their forces. That's the first territorial loss they've suffered in 15 years, Do-hyun said, his scaled skin brightening with excitement. Your strategy is working, Captain Park. We've hurt them, Tae-Jin agreed. But we haven't broken them. They're still fighting, still conquering. Minji, who had been quiet during the meeting, spoke up. I think we need to understand more about why they're fighting. Everyone turned to look at the science officer. What do you mean? Tae-Jin asked. Minji tapped her pad, bringing up data on the main display. I've been studying the Dravari prisoners captured at Navarus and the biological samples from other battles. There's something strange in their physiology. The display showed microscopic images of Dravari cells and blood samples. Their neural chemistry shows abnormal levels of certain compounds, Minji explained. At first I thought it might be natural, to their species. But then I compared it to historical samples from Coalition archives. She showed a split screen, current Dravari biology next to samples from 50 years ago, before the war began. The differences are significant, she continued. Modern Dravari show elevated aggression markers, reduced empathy indicators, and altered decision-making patterns. Do-hyun leaned forward, his large eyes blinking rapidly. Are you suggesting the Dravari have changed? Yes, Minji said. And I don't think it's natural evolution. Sun Young, the ship's medical officer, joined the conversation. She had been working closely with Minji on the research. We believe the Dravari are being chemically altered, she said. Some kind of biological agent is affecting their behavior, making them more aggressive, more coordinated, and less likely to question orders. A heavy silence fell over the room as everyone processed this information. Are you saying the entire Dravari species is being drugged into fighting this war? Tae-Jin asked finally. Minji nodded. That's exactly what I'm saying. Jin-A looked troubled. But who would do such a thing, and why? Their leaders, most likely, Sun Young replied. As for why, control, An entire species that follows orders without question is a powerful weapon. Taijin turned to Do-hyun. Did the coalition know about this? The alien commander's skin darkened with what Taijin had learned was shame or embarrassment. There were theories. Some scientists noted changes in Dravari behavior patterns over the generations, but nothing was ever proven. We need more information, Taijin decided. Jin-A, can we access any Dravari communication networks? The communications officer thought for a moment. Not from here, but if we could get close to one of their major relay stations. The Dravari have a communication hub in the Vega 7 system, Do-hyun suggested. It controls data flow for an entire sector. Taijin nodded. Then that's our next target. Not to destroy it, to raid it. We need to learn more about this biological agent and how it's being administered. 2 days later, the Defiance dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Vega 7 system. The swift wind remained behind, ready to come to their aid if needed. This mission required stealth, not firepower. Sensors show minimal defenses around the communication hub, Minji reported. 1 patrol ship and automated defensive systems. They're not expecting anyone to try to access their data, Ji-woo noted. Just to destroy the facility. Taijin studied the tactical display. We'll use the stealth systems to approach. Sung-ho, be ready to disable the patrol ship. Non-lethal measures if possible. Understood, Captain. The Defiance glided silently through space, its advanced stealth technology hiding it from Dravari sensors. As they drew close to the space station that housed the communication hub, Jin-A prepared her specialized equipment. I've modified our communication array to interface with their systems, she explained. Once we're in range, I can attempt to access their network. The patrol ship moved in a predictable pattern around the station. Taijin waited until it was on the far side before giving the order. Move us into position. Begin the data raid. The Defiance edged closer to the station. Jin-A's fingers moved rapidly over her console as she sent out carefully crafted signals designed to trick the Dravari systems. I'm in, she said after several tense minutes. Downloading data now. On the view screen they could see the patrol ship continuing its route unaware of their presence. How long? Taijin asked. 5 minutes for a complete download, Jin-A replied. Those 5 minutes felt like hours. Everyone on the bridge watched the patrol ship, ready to act if they were. Discovered. Download complete, Jin-A announced finally. I've got everything, internal communications, research data, command directives. Take us out of here, Taijin ordered, nice and slow. The Defiance backed away from the station, maintaining stealth. Once they were a safe distance away, Taijin ordered a jump to the rendezvous point with the swift wind. In the ship's conference room, Jin-A, Minji, and Sun Young worked together to analyze the stolen data. The rest of the senior staff waited anxiously for their findings. After 2 hours, Jin-A looked up from her work. Her face was pale. We found it, she said. The control mechanism for the Dravari. She displayed the information on the main screen. The Dravari aren't naturally aggressive. According to their own historical records, they were once a peaceful species focused on art and philosophy. What changed them? Asked Taijin. Their leadership council, a group called the Eternal Guardians, developed a biological agent 3 generations ago. It's administered through atmospheric processors on their homeworld and major colonies. Minji continued the explanation. The agent alters their brain chemistry, making them more aggressive and easier to control. It requires regular exposure. If a Dravari leaves their controlled environment for more than a few weeks, the effects begin to wear off. So the entire war, Ji-woo began, is being driven by a small group of leaders who are effectively drugging their own people, finished Sun Young. They've created an empire of slaves who think they're conquerors. Commander Do-hyun, who had joined them via holographic projection from his ship, looked shocked. This changes everything. There's more, Jin-A said grimly. We found the location of the Dravari homeworld Vaskar and their leadership bunker. The Eternal Guardians never leave it. They control everything from there. Taijin studied the information. The Dravari homeworld was deep in their territory, protected by layers of defenses. No coalition ship had ever penetrated that far and returned. If we could somehow disrupt the atmospheric processors, Minji suggested, the Dravari would return to their natural state. The war might end without further bloodshed. The processors are controlled from the leadership bunker, Jinne pointed out. We'd need to get inside. The room fell silent as they contemplated the implications. This wasn't just about winning battles anymore. It was about freeing an entire species from chemical slavery. Even with our technology, reaching Vaskar would be nearly impossible, Jiwoo said. The Defiance is good, but we can't fight our way through their entire territory. Taijin looked at each of his officers. We don't need to fight our way in. We need to sneak in. A stealth mission? Sung-ho asked. To the Dravari homeworld? Not just stealth, Taijin replied. We need a ground team. The bunker is underground. We can't hit it from orbit. The implications were clear. Someone would have to infiltrate the planet's surface and enter the leadership bunker itself. This could end the war, Taijin told his crew. One ship, one mission. As they began to plan, Taijin knew this would be their most dangerous operation yet. But if they succeeded, they wouldn't just win a war. They would free billions of minds from control. The Defiance had been sent to fight. Now it might have the chance to bring peace instead. News of the victory at Navaris spread quickly through Coalition space. As the Defiance docked at the orbital station above the planet, crowds of aliens gathered at viewports to see the Earth ship that had driven away a Dravari battle group. Captain Taijin and his senior officers were invited to the Coalition Command Center on the planet's surface. They traveled down in a shuttle, looking out at the blue-green world below them. From space, it looked peaceful. But as they got closer, they could see the damage from Dravari attacks, burned forests and destroyed cities. They've been under siege for 3 months, Jinne said quietly, reading from her data pad. 2 million dead already, Taijin nodded grimly. This was why they had come. The Coalition headquarters was built into a mountain, protected from orbital bombardment. Inside, representatives from many alien species moved through the hallways. Some looked almost human. Others were completely different, floating gas clouds contained in special suits or massive insect-like beings that clicked and hummed as they walked. Commander Do-hyun met them at the entrance to the main command center. Up close, his reptilian features were more pronounced. A crest of colorful scales ran from the top of his head down his back. Captain Park, he said, extending a 3-fingered hand. The Coalition owes you a debt that cannot be repaid. Taijin shook the offered hand. We're all fighting the same enemy, Commander. Yes, but until now we were losing. Do-hyun led them into a large circular room. A holographic display in the center showed star systems and fleet movements across Coalition base. Most of the markers were red, Dravari territory. The room fell silent as the humans entered. 24 alien officers and officials stared at them. An elderly alien with pale skin and forearms stepped forward. I am High Admiral Zen of the Coalition Defense Force. We have many questions for you, humans. Taijin introduced his officers, Jiwoo, Sung-ho, Minji, Jin-ae, and Junho, who had come up from engineering for the meeting. Let me begin by saying thank you, Zen continued. You saved Navaris when our own fleets could not. But I must know, how did you do it? One ship against a dreadnought should be impossible. Junho stepped forward carrying a data unit. With your permission, I can show you. The engineer connected his device to the holographic display. The image changed to show a technical diagram of the Defiance's systems. The fundamental difference, in our approach, Junho explained, is that we didn't try to build bigger guns or stronger shields in the traditional sense. We focused on efficiency and adaptation. He showed them how the Aegis shield system used quantum entanglement to disperse energy attacks across multiple dimensions. Then he explained the cascading disruption array, how it exploited weaknesses in molecular bonds rather than trying to overpower shields with brute force. The aliens watched with fascination. Some took notes, others whispered to each other. Remarkable, said a tall, spindly alien with 6 eyes. But surely this technology requires enormous power. Your ship is smaller than many of ours. That's the key, Junho replied. We don't need more power. We need smarter power usage. Our systems are more efficient. High Admiral Zen looked thoughtful. Could this technology be adapted to our ships? Taejin and Jiwoo exchanged glances. This was a question they had discussed during the journey to Nevaris. Some of it, yes. Taejin answered carefully. But Earth is not prepared to share all our technology yet. We need to know more about the Dravari threat first. A murmur ran through the alien officers. One stepped forward angrily. You would withhold technology while our people die? The alien had a translucent body that pulsed with light as it spoke. Taejin met its gaze evenly. We will help you fight. We will teach you what we can. But Earth must protect its own interests. 2. Before the argument could continue, Commander Do-hyun raised a hand. The humans have already done more than we could have asked. Let us not demand more until we've earned their trust. The angry alien stepped back, its lights dimming. High Admiral Zen nodded. Very well. Then perhaps you can tell us what you plan to do next, Captain Park. Taejin looked at the holographic map of Coalition space. We didn't come all this way to win one battle. We came to help end this war. He stepped toward the map. Show me the current Dravari fleet positions. The map changed, revealing dozens of red markers across multiple star systems. The Dravari have been pushing deeper into Coalition space for years, explained a female alien with feathers instead of hair. Our strategy has been to slow their advance while we build more ships. But you're always one step behind, said Taejin. And they always have more ships. Exactly. Their production capacity exceeds ours. Taejin studied the map for a moment. Then he turned to Sung-ho. Show them your analysis. The tactical officer stepped forward and connected his own data unit. New information appeared on the display. Movement patterns of Dravari fleets over the past 5 years. We've analyzed your records of Dravari attacks, Sung-ho explained. They don't fight like we do. Their tactics are predictable. He highlighted several patterns. They always secure resource-rich worlds first. They always maintain supply lines, and they never retreat from a position once established. The coalition officers leaned forward, interested. These aren't just tactical choices, Sung-ho continued. They're behavioral patterns, almost instinctive. Minji joined him. We believe the Dravari may have biological imperatives driving their military decisions. They act less like soldiers making choices and more like insects following programming. The aliens looked at each other. This was clearly a new perspective. If this is true, said High Admiral Zen, how does it help us? Taejin smiled slightly. Humans have been fighting each other for our entire history. We've learned that the side with better technology doesn't always win. It's about strategy, adaptability, and understanding your enemy. He pointed to several key points on the map. The Dravari have spread themselves thin. Their supply lines are vulnerable. Their command structure appears to be centralized. We don't need to match them ship for ship, Jiwoo added. We need to hit them where it hurts. A coalition general with metallic skin made a sound like grinding gears, their version of a scoff. One ship cannot win a war. It can if it's in the right place at the right time, Taejin countered. We don't need to destroy every Dravari ship, we just need to disrupt their command and supply structure. He outlined a new strategy. Instead of trying to defend every system with massive fleets, they would use the Defiance for surgical strikes against key Dravari targets, command centers, supply depots, and production facilities. This isn't a war of attrition, said Taejin. This is a war of precision. The coalition officers began to debate among themselves. Some were excited by the new approach. Others were skeptical. High Admiral Zen raised his 4 hands for silence. Captain Park's strategy is unorthodox, but we have seen what his ship can do. I believe we should give the humans a chance to prove their theories. He turned to Taejin. What do you need from us? Intelligence, Taejin replied immediately. Everything you have on Dravari leadership, their home systems and their supply networks. You'll have it, promised Zen. And what else? Taejin looked at his officers, then back to the alien admiral. A chance to study Dravari technology and biology. If we're going to beat them, we need to understand them better. That can be arranged. We have captured Dravari ships and prisoners. Commander Do-hyun stepped forward. I will personally assist the humans. My ship will accompany the Defiance on its missions. Taejin nodded his thanks. As the meeting continued, plans were made for the Defiance's next operation, a raid on a Dravari supply depot 3 systems away. Later, as they returned to their ship, Ji-woo walked beside Taejin. Do you think they'll follow our strategy? She asked quietly. Some will, he replied. Others will wait to see results. But we didn't come here to ask permission. Ji-woo smiled. Earth sent 1 ship. And 1 ship is all we need. Taejin finished. As the Defiance prepared to leave Navarus, the crew felt a new sense of purpose. They weren't just fighting to protect Earth anymore. They were fighting to show the galaxy the human way of war, and perhaps to end a conflict that had claimed billions of lives. The Dravari had never faced humans before. They were about to learn why that was a mistake. The 3 days in FTL passed quickly. The crew of the Defiance used every minute to prepare. In the ship's combat simulation room, Tactical Officer Sung-ho Lee ran the bridge crew through battle drills. Again, he said after their 5th failed attempt to defeat a simulated Dravari dreadnought. We need to be perfect. Ji-woo wiped sweat from her forehead. The Dravari ships are faster than we expected. But their weapons follow predictable patterns, Sung-ho pointed out. If we time our moves right, we can avoid most of their fire. Captain Taejin watched his crew work together. Each time they ran the simulation, they got better. By the final day, they were able to defeat the virtual dreadnought with minimal damage to the Defiance. Good work, Taejin told them. But remember, real battle is always different from simulation. In the science lab, Minji studied the data they had on Dravari technology. Their shields operate on a frequency rotation, she explained to Taejin during his rounds. This is why coalition weapons sometimes work and sometimes don't. But our disruption array doesn't care about their shields. It targets molecular bonds in their hull. Will it work as well as our tests showed? Taejin asked. Minji nodded. In theory, yes. But we've never used it against an actual Dravari ship. First time for everything, Taejin said with a small smile. In the engine room, Junho made final adjustments to the Aegis shield system. The quantum shield generators were Earth's greatest defensive innovation, capable of dispersing enemy weapon energy across multiple dimensions. How long can we maintain full shields in combat? Taejin asked him. About 30 minutes at maximum output, Junho replied. After that, we'll need to reduce power or risk overload. 30 minutes should be enough, Taejin said, though he wasn't entirely sure. Throughout the ship, the rest of the crew prepared in their own ways. Some wrote messages to family back on Earth. Others checked and rechecked their stations. A few simply sat quietly, lost in thought. Jin-E found Taejin in his quarters, reviewing battle plans. Captain, I've received updated intel from Coalition Command, she said. The situation at Navarus has gotten worse. The Coalition fleet is down to 7 ships. The Dravari dreadnought has moved into orbit around the planet. Taejin's face remained calm, but his eyes showed concern. Have they started landing troops? Not yet. They seem to be waiting for something. They're waiting for the Coalition to surrender, Taejin said. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. Exiting FTL in 3, 2, 1, the Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Navarus system. Through the bridge view screen, the crew could see a distant sun and several planets, and between them, the flashes of weapons fire. Sensors online, Minji announced, detecting multiple ships engaged in combat near the 4th planet. Magnify, ordered Taejin. The view screen zoomed in to show the battle. 5 Coalition ships, their hulls scarred by weapon impacts, were in a defensive formation around the blue-green planet of Navarus. They were firing desperately at a much larger group of Dravari vessels. The Dravari ships were sleek and black, with sharp edges that made them look like predatory fish, and dwarfing them all was the Dravari dreadnought, a massive vessel that resembled a hammer with its heavy front section and narrower rear. Dravari fleet consists of 1 dreadnought, 12 cruisers, and 8 smaller vessels, Sung Ho reported. Coalition fleet is down to 5 ships, all showing significant damage. They've spotted us, Jin'e said. We're receiving a transmission from the Coalition flagship. On screen, Tae-jin ordered. The face of an alien commander appeared. He looked vaguely reptilian with scaled skin and large eyes. His translator converted his clicks and hisses into human language. Earth vessel, this is Commander Do-hyun of the Coalition 7th Fleet. You must retreat immediately. We were expecting reinforcements, not a single ship. This is not a battle you can win. Tae-jin stood from his captain's chair. Commander Do-hyun, I'm Captain Tae-jin Park of the ESV Defiance. We are the reinforcements. The alien's eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of confusion or disbelief. 1 ship cannot stand against a Dravari battle group. They have a dreadnought. We're aware of the situation, Tae-jin replied. Please move your remaining ships to these coordinates. He nodded to Jin'e, who transmitted the data. And prepare to observe. Before Do-hyun could protest further, Tae-jin cut the communication. He turned to his crew. Battle stations, activate stealth systems. The Defiance's outer hull changed color, blending with the darkness of space. Special materials absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them back. The Dravari are scanning for us, Minji reported. Their sensors are sweeping the area but haven't locked on. 3 Dravari cruisers are breaking off from the main group, Sung Ho added. They're moving to investigate our last known position. Tae-jin studied the tactical display. The Coalition ships were following his instructions, moving away from the planet to the coordinates he had sent. Bring us in closer to the dreadnought, he ordered. Keep stealth systems at maximum. The Defiance glided silently through space, passing within kilometers of the Dravari cruisers. None of them detected the Earthship. We're in position, Jiwoo reported. 2,000 kilometers from the dreadnought. Tae-jin took a deep breath. Everything they had trained for came down to this moment. Deactivate stealth systems. Activate Aegis shields. Power up the disruption array. The Defiance's hull returned to its normal state, suddenly visible to Dravari sensors. Alarms must have sounded on the enemy ships because they immediately began to turn toward the Earth vessel. Multiple weapon locks detected, Sung Ho warned. They're charging weapons. Hold position, Tae-jin ordered. Let them fire first. The space around the Defiance lit up as the Dravari ships opened fire. Energy beams and projectiles streaked toward the Earthship from all directions. Brace for impact, Jiwoo called out. But there was no impact. The Aegis shields glowed softly as they absorbed the enemy fire, dispersing the energy harmlessly. Shields holding at 98%, Junho reported from engineering, his voice filled with pride. The system is working perfectly. On the view screen, Tae-jin could see the Dravari ships continuing to fire, pouring more and more energy into their attack. They seemed confused by the Defiance's ability to withstand their weapons. They're increasing power to their main guns, Sung Ho said. The dreadnought's massive front section began to glow as it charged its primary weapon. A moment later, a blinding beam shot out, striking the Defiance head-on. The ship shuddered slightly. Lights flickered. Shields at 85%, Junho reported. That was their biggest gun. Tae-jin allowed himself a small smile. Now it's our turn. Target the dreadnought's propulsion systems. Fire the disruption array. Sung Ho's fingers moved over his console. Target locked. Firing. From the Defiance's main weapon ports, beams of blue-white energy lanced out. Unlike the bright flashes of Dravari weapons, the disruption array was almost subtle. The beams touched the dreadnought's hull and passed through its shields as if they weren't there. Where the beam struck, the black metal of the Dravari ship simply came apart. Molecules separated from each other, causing entire sections to disintegrate. Direct hit, Sung Ho reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. Their engines are offline. The Dravari cruisers are changing formation, Jiwoo said. They're moving to protect the dreadnought. Target the nearest cruiser, Tae-jin ordered. Same approach. Again, the disruption array fired. Again, a Dravari ship found its hull coming apart at the molecular level. Systems failed. Atmosphere. Vented into space. Coalition forces are hailing us, Jin'e said. Commander Do-hyun's face appeared on screen again. His expression was one of shock. How is this possible? The alien asked. Their shields have never failed against our weapons. Different technology requires different countermeasures, Tae-jin replied. We're not trying to overpower their shields. We're bypassing them entirely. The remaining Dravari ships were beginning to retreat, pulling away from Navarus and the devastating Earth vessel that had appeared from nowhere. Should we pursue? Asked Ji-woo. Tae-jin shook his head. No. Our mission was to save Navarus, not destroy the Dravari fleet. He turned to Jin'e. Open a channel to all Dravari ships. When the connection was established, Tae-jin spoke clearly. Attention Dravari vessels. This is Captain Tae-jin Park of Earth. You have seen what one Earth ship can do. Return to your territory and inform your leaders. The coalition is no longer standing alone. The Dravari didn't respond, but their retreat continued. In less than 15 minutes, they had left the Navarus system. The bridge crew of the Defiance looked at each other in amazement. They had just taken on a Dravari battle group, and won. Send a message to Earth, Tae-jin told Jin'e. Tell them, first contact, first blood. Navarus is secure. As coalition ships approached to escort them to the planet, Tae-jin knew this was just the beginning. They had won a battle, not the war. But Earth had sent one ship. And that ship had just changed everything. The stars looked different from the observation deck of Earth Space Defense Headquarters. Captain Tae-jin Park stood alone, hands clasped behind his back, watching the night sky. For most of human history, people had looked up at those stars with wonder. Now they knew what lived among them. Not all of it was friendly. The door slid open behind him. Admiral Han walked in, his face serious. The older man looked tired. They're waiting for you in the briefing room, he said simply. Tae-jin nodded and followed the Admiral down the long hallway. The building was quiet at this late hour. Only essential personnel remained on duty. In the briefing room, 3 beings sat at the table. 2 were human. Defense Minister Choi and Dr. Ji-hai Song, Earth's leading expert on alien technology. The third was not human at all. Ambassador Zolan was tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. 4 arms were folded neatly in front of him. His large eyes blinked slowly as Tae-jin entered. Captain Park, the Yao, alien said, his translator making his words sound flat. Thank you for coming quickly. Tae-jin took a seat. I was told this was urgent. Minister Choi nodded. It is. Ambassador Zolan brings news from the Galactic Coalition. The alien's skin darkened slightly. A sign of distress, Tae-jin had learned. The war goes badly for us, Zolan said. The Dravari have taken 3 more systems in the past month. Billions are now under their control. Tae-jin had studied the reports. The Galactic Coalition, 12 different alien species united in cooperation, had been fighting the Dravari Empire for almost 30 years. The Dravari wanted to rule everything they found. They did not ask. They took. Earth had only learned about this war 2 years ago when Coalition scouts first contacted humanity. Since then, Earth had kept its distance, building up its defenses while watching the distant conflict. The Coalition Council has voted, Zolan continued. We formally request Earth's aid in this war. Minister Choi leaned forward. You're asking us to join your war? Earth has never even been to most of the systems you're fighting over. We are not asking you to join the coalition, Zolan clarified. Only to help us fight the Dravari. If they defeat us, they will eventually come for Earth too. They always expand. They never stop. Admiral Han spoke up. What exactly are you asking for? Ships, said Zolan. The coalition needs warships. Our fleets are stretched thin across too many fronts. The room fell silent. Everyone knew Earth had only one true warship ready for deep space combat. The ESV Defiance. One ship won't make a difference in your war, Dr. Song said, her voice soft, but firm. Zolan's upper arms moved in what might have been a shrug. One ship is better than none, and we have heard rumors about your technology. Tae-jin looked at Admiral Han. Earth had been careful about what technologies they had revealed to the Coalition. After centuries of science fiction stories about alien invasions, humans had been developing defensive systems long before they made actual contact. Some of those systems were unlike anything the Coalition, or the Dravari, had ever seen. Admiral Han cleared his throat. We will need to discuss this privately, Ambassador. Zolan stood, towering over the humans. Of course, but please remember, time is running out. The Nevera system is under attack right now. Our 7th Fleet fights there, but they are losing. Without help, the planet will fall within days. After the alien left, Minister Choi turned to the others. Thoughts? It's risky, said Admiral Han. The Defiance is our only ship with the new Aegis system and the disruption array. If we lose it, if the Dravari defeat the Coalition, they'll come for us anyway, Dr. Song pointed out. At least this way we learn more about fighting them before they reach our doorstep. They all looked at Tae-jin. As captain of the Defiance, his opinion mattered. My crew is ready, he said simply. If the order is given, we'll go. 4 hours later, the order came. The ESV Defiance sat in Earth's orbital dock, sleek and deadly. At 500 meters long, it wasn't particularly large compared to Coalition or Dravari vessels, but its design represented the best of human ingenuity. Tae-jin walked through the ship's corridors, nodding to crew members as they prepared for departure. The Defiance carried 120 personnel, each selected from the best Earth had to offer. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Jun-ho Kang was running final checks on the FTL drive. How's it looking, Chief? Tae-jin asked. Jun-ho looked up from his console. Green across the board, Captain. The new drive modifications should get us to Neveris in 72 hours. Good. We'll need every advantage. Next, Tae-jin visited the medical bay. Dr. Sun Young Kwan was organizing supplies. Dr. Kwan, are we prepared for casualties? She nodded, her expression serious. Yes, Captain, though I hope we won't need much of this. So do I. On the bridge, the rest of the senior staff waited. Executive Officer Ji Woo-yoon stood as Tae-jin entered. Status report? All systems ready, Captain, she replied. The crew is at battle stations. Communications Officer Jin A. Kim spoke next. I've received the mission data from Coalition Command. The Neveris system is approximately 70 light-years from Earth. Coalition's 7th Fleet is currently engaged with Dravari forces there. What do we know about the enemy numbers? Tae-jin asked. Tactical Officer Sung-ho Lee brought up a holographic display. Coalition intelligence reports at least 20 Dravari warships, including 1 dreadnought. The Coalition fleet originally had 30 ships, but they've lost at least half. Science Officer Min-ji Choi added, Neveris has 1 habitable planet, with a population of about 200 million. The Dravari typically capture rather than destroy such worlds. They want the resources and labor. Tae-jin studied the display. The odds didn't look good, even with the Defiance's advanced systems. They're expecting a fleet from Earth, aren't they? He asked Jin-A. She nodded. Ambassador Zolan's message to them mentioned Earth forces. They don't know it's just us. Then we'd better not disappoint them, Tae-jin said. A message from Mission Control came through. They were cleared for departure. Outside the viewports, the docking clamps released. The Defiance was free. Before they left Earth's orbit, Admiral Han requested one final communication. His face appeared on the main screen. Captain Park, you carry Earth's hopes with you. This mission will show us, and the galaxy, what one Earthship can do. We understand, Admiral. The Coalition asked. For a fleet, the Admiral continued. We're sending you 1 ship, because that's all we have and all we need. He paused. Good hunting, Defiance. The screen went dark. Tae-jin looked around at his bridge crew. They were young, the best Earth had to offer. None of them had ever fought in a real space battle, only simulations. But they had trained for this moment their entire careers. Set course for the Navarre system, he ordered. Maximum speed. The stars blurred as the Defiance entered FTL. Tai Jin felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Earth had sent one ship to a war that spanned hundreds of star systems and involved trillions of lives. One ship against an empire. As the Defiance raced toward its destination, Tai Jin thought about what waited for them. The Dravari wouldn't expect Earth's technology. They wouldn't be prepared for the Aegis system or the disruption array. Maybe one ship really was all it would take. They had 3 days to prepare. 3 days to ready themselves for their first battle against an alien enemy. 3 days before they would learn if Earth's faith in them was justified. Tai Jin gave his crew a determined look. Let's get to work.